Welcome to the show. From Peterson's, I'm your host, Taylor Sienkiewicz, and you're listening to You Have a Cool Job, a podcast highlighting those who took their profession in a unique direction and what they did to get there. On today's episode of You Have a Cool Job, we talk with Marissa Jacobs, a life and career coach. Marissa explains what this relatively new field is in comparison to similar professions. First, do you want to, because I feel like life coaching is kind of a newer topic, do you want to just explain what that is?
Yes. So the way I think it's important to talk about it with the difference of like coaching versus consulting versus therapy, because I feel like this is kind of what's confusing for people is what's the difference. So to me, consulting is you hire someone because they have an expertise that you don't to tell you what to do about something you don't know how to do. So, you hire a brand consultant to teach you how to brand yourself, or you hire a consultant for, business development, something like that. And they have a trained skill set and they're going to tell you how to do that better. And to me, coaching is, I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm not telling you what to do because no one knows your life better than you do. And so coaching believes that you have the answers, you have the information, and it's just drawing that out of you already. And so there's no hierarchy in coaching. Like, I'm the expert of your life and I'm going to instruct you on how to live it. It's more of, the coach is your partner in shaping what you want things to look like.
Marissa says there are similarities between therapy and coaching, but the purpose and methodology is very different.
The difference between therapy and coaching is, to me, therapy is incredibly valuable, by the way, but just a different approach of more what's happened to you in your life, what's happened in the past, and sometimes looking backward to heal the past to move forward. And there's definitely some overlap between coaching and therapy, but coaching is a little bit more of, I don't really need to know your whole story. I don't need to know everything that's ever happened to you. I need to know where you are now and where you want to go. And so it's just a little bit more about goal setting and accountability and looking into what's next for you instead of going backwards and looking at everywhere you've been. So coaching is really just a partnership of two people working together, and the client is responsible for deciding, what they're looking to get coached on. I don't tell someone you need coaching on this. They say, hey, I'm looking to make a change, or, I'm unhappy in my career, or they come with a topic in mind, and my job is to then work with them to decide what's important to them and what they value, what their life purpose is, how they want their life to look, and then set some steps to get there and keep them accountable and building that. So.
Right. Yeah. So it sounds like therapy would be more like the healing process, whereas coaching is the let's make a plan for the rest of it.
Yeah, and there are moments that, an emotion comes up or some past stuff is unresolved in coaching. And it's important to sometimes pause and say, what's in this for you? Like, maybe there is something that kind of gets triggered from past, and it's certainly emotional, but it typically is forward thinking and looking at how do you want to take, these places you've been, or maybe the experience you're having right now, even if it is emotional, and learn from it and grow from it and figure out how it can serve you in your overall life goals.
While there are many styles of coaching, Marissa explains what she believes her purpose is and isn't as a coach.
The most important thing about coaching is that there's no really advice given, or at least in the way I practice coaching. I know there are probably many different ways that people operate as a coach in the world. The way I coach and the way I've been trained to coach is not from a place of power imbalance, where I have it all together, and so I'm going to teach you how to do that. Again, that's really more consulting. And so coaching is, the misconception, I think, is that someone figures things out for you. And actually, coaching is a lot of work for the client, a lot of work for the coach, but it's about you taking ownership of your life, and a coach absolutely partners with you and supports you and is there with you in that, but they're not telling you what to do because it's not really what it's about.
You may be asking when someone might seek out a coach. While there are numerous answers to this question, Marissa has two main specialties. Why do people usually come to you for coaching?
Great question. So I think my two kind of sweet spots, which honestly are mostly just, I think, personal connection, are two. So one is young women, especially entering into the workforce for the first time. So post-grad, looking to figure out how to navigate the work world, what exactly they want to do, and or are pretty early on in their career and in their life. So usually kind of early to mid-20s. That's a really special spot for me because I'm 30, so I'm not that far removed from it where I can't relate to that time in life. And honestly, what drew me to that population was like, I think back to myself, and if I had had a coach at 22, like what a value to think more clearly about what was really important to me and look more holistically at the ways I took care of myself and the things I wanted to prioritize. And I never had conversations like that until much later. And I think, I don't have regrets about it, but I just think like, wow, if I had been, talking to someone who made me feel that empowered and made me more aware of what was really important to me, like I probably would have saved a lot of time doing a lot of things that were probably not quite right for me. And so I really love working with that population. And the other group that I work with are entrepreneurs. So people who want to start a business or it doesn't always have to be a full-time thing, but have some kind of passion project that they're looking to take into the world. So sometimes it's more of a side hustle or, a side gig that they're looking to do, but they want some accountability and motivation into what does that really look like. So those are the two populations I particularly work with. And it's honestly mostly just because that's my experience. I'm a young woman who has tried a lot of different careers, who has started several businesses actually, and been able to sustain myself like that for the past 4 years. And I love to share that experience and just encourage others to do the same.
Marissa works best with these two groups of people because she has undergone what they are currently in the process of. I asked Marissa why this is an aspect of choosing a coach.
There's always a relatability piece with coaching, and I really encourage any client, whether they work with me or not, is, talk to a lot of different coaches, see who's a good fit for you, because it's just like anything. Someone might be an incredibly skilled coach, but that doesn't mean they're the right coach for you. And so you have to find someone that, you just gel with and you feel excited to talk to every session, or, you feel like will push you, and, you don't want a coach that's going to let you get away with too much, but you also don't want someone that's going to make you not feel nurtured enough. So it's really finding a sweet spot, and I think that people have to find the right energetic fit for them. So I always encourage someone, whether they're coming to me or not, to take your time, find the right coach, have 6 sessions with people before you pick one. It's worth it to find someone that you really connect with.
So when you also talked about like different misconceptions and how the industry has grown in a different way, what are certain things that people don't expect are a big part of your job? Like when I was looking at you on social media, I remember seeing something about like how headshots are important. So like, why is that for entrepreneurs?
Great question. Yeah. So whether you're a coach or pretty much any entrepreneur, I think one thing that is a little bit of maybe a slap in the face to people when they first start working independently is, let's say you want to start a business as, a photographer. Yes, you have to be an incredible photographer and take a lot of pictures, but that is like a fraction of your business. You have to be good at client relations. You have to be good at marketing. You have to be good at updating your website or paying someone to do that. You have to do some kind of bookkeeping or pay an accountant. And so a big part of coaching is running a business. And I think that's something that's really important to know about this work is that, you have to have contracts in place, and how are you going to take payments from people? And so before you're like, oh, hey, I'm a coach, what is it like to build a business and have all those pieces in place to be able to do your actual job, which is coaching. So I think sometimes, whether it's coaching or any industry, people don't realize that you wear many hats as an entrepreneur. And that is a huge part of my day-to-day. And yes, of course, the focus is always client work, but, I need to do billing, and I need to keep up with, I do a lot of Instagram. I write a blog that is really important to me, and all of that takes time. And so that is a big part of my day, is the running a coaching business as well as coaching.
Because coaching is so new as a career, many people are unfamiliar with it. I asked Marissa what some common misconceptions are about her field.
Coaching is a very quickly changing industry. It was, I think, considered kind of woo-woo previously, of like a life coach is unfortunately, I think has a little bit of connotation to some people of being like this airy-fairy kind of super touchy-feely, like, and there is some of that, and there are certainly coaches that are stylistically like that. But the way the coaching industry is now is, I mean, there are coaches who are working with leaders and top-level executives and, you know, who are doing extensive training to become coaches, and it is a profession that certainly has a ton of credibility that I think it didn't in the past, and you know, is really evolving into a true profession and not just something that people are kind of popping up as a coach and wanting to offer, you know, nuggets of wisdom that are, so I think coaching now is very different than coaching was even 5 years ago.
Cool. And then you also own an event planning business. So how do those two things coincide with your coaching?
Yeah, so that's my background for the past several years. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 26 or so. Knew I wanted to work independently. I'm very lucky. I come from an entrepreneurial family who has modeled for me that is a wonderful way to work in the world. And so I was in a job that was under-challenging and just knew, like, I'm ready to do something alone. So I started an event planning company and did that for several years. And it's part of what brought me to coaching, actually, because the connection I've had with my clients through that made me really realize that one-on-one is so incredibly fulfilling to me. And I ended up coaching a lot of people in a lot of ways in my life before I really called myself a coach, as it often goes. And so how I do it now, so I actually don't do that much event planning anymore because my coaching business has taken off. But the way I use them together is to create experiences now. So I'm working on, for 2019, a set of workshops and then a longer retreat in next year. And so it's great because I get to take my event planning background of, facilitating all of the details and all of the things that go into planning an event, and now use it in a coaching context of creating events for people that are about personal growth and about connection.
As for what really goes on when it comes to being a coach, Marissa explains the different educational routes people take and why she chose to do extensive training.
Coaching, unfortunately, is not a regulated industry, so you don't have to have any kind of certification to be a coach. I mean, anyone could wake up tomorrow and open up a coaching business. It's not like therapy where you have to have a licensure. There is certainly a huge shift going around it, though, about what are the ways that we know that people are credible coaches because it's such a popular field. And so there is a governing body in the coaching industry called the International Coach Federation, ICF, and they have done a ton of work to standardize coach training and actually do accreditation for certain programs to say, like, oh, this is an ICF approved program, because there are also tons of coaching programs that, you could get a coaching certificate in a day. And mine took almost 2 years. So, there's the range of what's out there is a little scary, actually, but pretty wild. So when I knew I wanted to be a coach, I wanted to do it in a way that really felt like a lot of integrity for me. And the way I operate is just, I want to know what I'm doing. I want to feel really, really confident in the value that I'm offering a client. And so to me, that meant training, and training seriously. And so I decided to do a ton of research as to what trainings were out there, talk to different people about what they had done. And that's why I chose the Coaches Training Institute. It's, I think, the oldest training school, and it's based actually in California, but they have trainings all over the world now. And how it works is it's 3-day weekends, 5 times. And so you do these kind of immersive 3 days at a time and learn a ton. And you have leaders that facilitate that, and you're working with other coaches and practicing coaching. And it's probably one of the most enriching experiences I've done in my life. And then after that, you can apply to go through their certification, which is a 6-month program that I just finished. And, you don't have to do that level of training, but I mean, I can't imagine being as effective as a coach I am now without the training that I've gotten from that. that. So again, that's called the Coaches Training Institute. And then I am also going through a training through ICF directly to become an ACC, which is an associate certified coach. They have several levels of coaches, but they are kind of the first resource. So anyone who's interested in coaching, if you're not sure what training, just go to the ICF website and they have, a list of, if you want an in-person training, you can look where you live and see what might be there. If you want, all online, they have resources for a ton of things out there that you can do. So I think training to me is incredibly important because we want to do a good job for our clients and know what we're talking about and learn skills and really being a coach. And there are so many incredible programs out there that it's worth investing in for yourself to really serve your clients.
Marissa shared what spurred her career change to coaching and explained that these prior careers, although they weren't what she ended up doing, were still able to serve her.
There are probably people out there that somehow wake up and know what they want to do with their life. Right? Maybe at 18, get a job right out of college and do that for their life, and good for them. I mean, I wish that was the case for most people. I don't think that's the case for everyone where they have this straight shot path. And so I've had several careers which I think have actually really served me, and I think this is one thing I work with a lot with people of, there's no kind of mistake, Sometimes you do a job and you think, oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong career. Well, then isn't that great that you know that now, that you've learned that that's not the right thing for you? So for me, I graduated with an art history degree, totally unrelated to coaching. I wanted to be in fashion, so that was my lifelong dream, was to be a fashion designer. So I moved to New York City, worked in fashion for about 3.5 years, and it was just, I think, so idealized in my head as to what it really was like. Right. So I got there, and it was just almost pretty immediately not the right thing, but it's hard to let go of a dream, I think. So I worked there for, like I said, several years before I was ready to move on. And I just knew, one, I wanted to give back more in my work, and that was not doing that. And two, I'm a hiker, runner, skier. New York City was not the right place for me.
I understand.
So I decided to move back. I moved back to Colorado, which is where I'm from. And I live in Denver now, and I started working for a nonprofit. So I did event planning for a nonprofit, which is how I ended up in event planning. And same thing, just knew it wasn't quite right. I always use this term with people, but you sometimes find almost, but that's not the same as it. And so you have to hold out for the it, this is it. And I just was really under challenged in that role. But both of those roles taught me a lot of important things about, the way you run a business, about the way you want to show up for people, about what is important. I didn't really know I wanted to be in a service kind of a helping profession, I guess is what to call it, until I was not in one and realized that was a big void that I was looking for. So I knew I wanted to work independently, which was kind of step one, and that's how I started my event planning company. And then from there, I learned that I knew I wanted to help people in a way that was different than that. And that's what brought me to coaching. So I think each one was a step closer to what I now, I think is, my calling, and I hope to be doing this work for a very long time. So just learned along the way, and you have to kind of let go of something sometimes to move forward onto the next thing, even though, it's hard to let go of what you thought was what you wanted.
Exactly. And Marissa, what's your favorite part about what you do?
My favorite part about what I do is just the ripple effect of coaching. So how I see it is, when I'm working as a coach and working independently, I'm living in a way that is my ultimate desire. I'm showing up in a way that's energetically right for me. I'm living on purpose, and I'm happy, I'm engaged in the world, I'm connected. And then when I work with clients to enable them to live the lives that they want, to build the relationships that they want, to find the career that they want, then they show up like that in the world, and they are energized and they're on purpose. And it's just this incredible ripple of, that they are better employees, then they are better business owners, then they are better parents, and they are a better romantic partner. And I just think that when we can get in touch with what really matters and be intentional about the way we live, the impact is so profound and so resonating into kind of every area of life and into the people that we connect with. And so it's just incredibly important, and I think humbling actually to imagine kind of that several layer out effect that coaching has on people, and that's had on my own life and hopefully on many people's.
As for final thoughts, Marissa shares a bit of coaching advice for us.
Be intentional and don't let life just happen to you, but shape it for yourself.
Coaching is a career undergoing rapid growth and changes, and Marissa is part of it all with her own style and specialties. We hope you're inspired by Marissa's story to make the leap into entrepreneurship if it's right for you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.